Hey everybody, today we're going to spend some time talking about how to solve absolute value equations. The reasoning behind this is that it is related directly to distance, since we just learned about distance and how to calculate it between 2 points on a plane. And absolute value is actually the distance from zero, which is why absolute value always results in a positive or, well, positive or neutral answer, I guess, if you get zero. And that's why. So this is something that you may have seen at the end of last year during digital learning. You may have not. The thinking is that if you saw it during digital, chances are you did not get enough exposure to it, enough practice with it. So it just makes sense, I think, to go over it now, since it's something you need moving forward. Okay? So anyway, we're going to spend some time going over some examples, and you should be good to go with the homework I'm posting today. And if you have any questions, obviously, just let me know, and I'll do everything I can to help out. Okay? So let's start with a fairly simple one. All right? So we have, you can hear the kid. I don't know if you can hear that on the mic, but there's a kid like freaking out in the playground right now. It's pretty funny. Full on tantrum. Okay, so we have the absolute value of 3x equals 9. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the absolute value has nothing on the outside of it. And by that I mean there's nothing on the same side the equal sign is it. And there's nothing here. It's just absolute value 3x is equal to 9. There's nothing on this side besides that. So that means we're ready to split it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to rewrite it without the absolute value, without changing anything. And then we're going to write it again without the absolute value. And the numbers on the outside, or anything outside that absolute value, is going to change its sign. So positive 9 will become negative 9. This doesn't change. 3x equals 9. Negative 9, sorry. Negative 9. So let's solve this equation. We're going to get the x by itself rather by dividing by its coefficient, which is 3. Or you can say we're using the inverse operation. Since this is 3 times x, we're going to divide by 3. So x will be equal to 3. Now over here we're going to solve it the exact same way. We're going to divide by 3 because that's our coefficient. And this is negative 9 divided by positive 3. That will be negative 3. And those are both of our answers. They will both work. If you go back and plug it in, you should get an answer that checks out. Let's just double check real quick. So let's plug in the 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. Absolute value of 9 is 9. That works. Plug in negative 3. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. The absolute value of negative 9 is positive 9. So that checks out as well. And there we go. Okay, let's try one that has multiple steps inside the absolute value. So we have the absolute value of negative 4 plus 5x is equal to 16. Now we're going to solve this the exact same way. There's nothing on the outside of the absolute values here, so we're ready to go ahead and split this. And we're going to have negative 4 plus 5x is equal to 16. And again, we'll write again, negative 4 plus 5x is equal to now negative 16. Okay? Let me zoom in here so you can see it a little better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and solve this each time. Now, one thing to be careful of, a lot of students when they rewrite this, I've seen it where they write this negative 4 as a positive 4 because they just associate positive signs with absolute values. Do not do that. We're not changing the value of anything in here. We're just changing the value of this when we write it the second time. So never, when you're rewriting the equation without the absolute value, do not fall into that trap. Okay. So we're going to get x by itself here. We're going to get rid of the constant first. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. Okay. So that'll go away. We have 5x, and then 16 plus 4 is 20. Now we want to get x by itself, so we're going to divide by the coefficient, which is 5. And then 20 divided by 5 is, of course, 4. So we have x equals 4. Okay? So that's our first answer. Let's see what we get over here. So we're going to solve it the exact same way. So we're going to add 4 to both sides because that's our coefficient. But this is where it starts to change. 5x equals, and then negative 16 plus 4 is going to be negative 12. And we're going to divide by 5. And we're going to get a fraction. We're going to get an improper fraction. That's totally fine. So we have x equals negative 12 over 5. Or if you want to write that as a mixed number, oops, more space here. If you want to write that as a mixed number, you could write x is equal to negative 2 and 2/5, and they would both be fine. So these are our two answers, and that's how you go ahead and solve that. So that should help you with most of the absolute value equations. I do want to show you how to do some more difficult ones because there are some towards the end of the worksheets that can be quite challenging. So I think it'd be a good idea to show you at least 1 or 2 of those. So why don't we do this one? So we got 3. Make sure you can see this. Can you see this? Yeah, you can see this. Cool. So we're going to have absolute value of 7p plus 4 all over 8, and that's equal to 3. Equal to 3. Okay, so this looks a little more complicated, but we're going to solve it the exact same way. Now the big thing here is that we do have a number on the same side of the absolute value, on the same side of the equal sign as the absolute value, but it's not placed within the absolute value. So we're taking this absolute value, we're dividing the whole thing by 8. We need to get this 8 out of here, okay? We need it out of here before we split and rewrite. We need to get rid of it, okay? So what's the inverse operation of division? Well, the inverse operation of division is, of course, multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides by 8, and that'll isolate our absolute value. So we're going to have absolute value of 7p plus 4, and now 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, now this looks exactly like this problem over here. Now we basically turned it into one of those. And now we're going to go ahead and solve this. So we split it. We're going to rewrite it. We're going to say 7p plus 4 equals 24. And then 7p plus 4 is equal to negative 24. And now we go ahead and solve this. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. Okay? And we're going to get 7p is equal to 20. And then we divide both sides by our coefficient, which in this case is 7. And we're going to get 20 over 7, which is an improper fraction. And if we want to change that to a mixed number, we can do that too. So 7 divides 20 twice with a remainder of 6, so 2. And there we go. So it's either one of these two, and that's totally fine, either one. Okay, then we're going to solve this over here. We're going to subtract 4 from both sides because that's our constant. And negative 24 minus 4 is going to be negative 28. And then 7p, so we can divide both sides by our coefficient. And we're going to end up with p is equal to negative 4. Okay, so that would be our other answers, these two. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Let me find a black piece of paper I can write on here. That's not it. Hold on. Steal over here. Oh, surely there's paper here somewhere. Here, we'll use the old notebook here. Okay, so let's do one more. Let's do something that looks crazy. How's about, yeah, oh yeah, there we go. This is gonna be a doozy. So we're gonna go to number 4. Let's do 2 minus 5, absolute value of 5m minus 5 equals negative 73. Oh, doesn't that look pleasant? Yeah, it looks great. We'll do this one. Okay, so there's a lot going on inside the absolute value. There's a lot going on outside the absolute value. Not a big deal. We just have to get this stuff straightened away. So we're going to get rid of this stuff. All right, we're going to isolate the absolute value so we can then split it and solve it. So this is 2 minus 5 times this, right? Times the absolute value of 5 minus 5. So this is, you can think of this almost like, well, this is multiplication, obviously. Negative 5 is being multiplied by this. You cannot distribute this. So you cannot treat this like a parentheses and distribute it. You can't do that. So think of this almost as a coefficient, and this is a variable. We're going to get rid of 2 first. We can just simply subtract 2 from both sides. Okay? So we're going to do that. And that's going to leave us with negative 5 times the absolute value of 5m minus 5. And negative 73 minus 2 is negative 75. Okay? So now, this is, like I said, this is negative 5 times the absolute value. So we're going to use the inverse operation, and the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. Those will cancel out. We're going to have the absolute value of 5m. Oh, they're ringing the bell out there. Must be time for recess is over. Yeah, definitely recess is over. So 115, there we go. So it divides it 15 times, and the negative divided by negative is a positive. Okay, and now we can now go ahead and split and rewrite this and solve it. So we're going to rewrite that as 5m minus 5 equals 15, and 5m minus 5 equals negative 15. Okay, and now we just solve it like we did all the other ones. So we're going to get rid of the constant. We're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to write 5m equals 20, and then we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient, which is 5. Bing, bang, boom, m is equal to 4. Look at that. Like a boss. All right, now over here, we're going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, negative 15 plus 5 is negative 10. And then we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient, which is 5. And look at that, m is equal to negative 2. Okay. So, okay, that took a little longer than I expected. I apologize. I want to keep these videos short, but I think it was important to go over these examples. So, when you look at these, let me zoom out here. The big thing is get the absolute value by itself. Once it's by itself, split it, rewrite it 2 times, and then solve for 2 answers. And that should be enough to get through what we have posted on Google Classroom. Let me know if you have any questions of how to do this. If you're running into trouble, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to help. Okay? All right, thanks, guys.